Studies show that nearly half to three-quarters of recent buyers have at least one major regret about their purchase. And here in Seattle, buyers who stretched their budgets to win deals back in 2021 and 2022 are feeling it the hardest right now. I've been in this market for over 15 years, and in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why that is, and I'll make sure you avoid making the same mistakes. So here in Seattle, the buyers who are hurting right now didn't just make a bad decision. They made a perfectly reasonable one in an entirely unreasonable market, and that distinction is very important. Think back to 2021 and 2022. Nearly 500 homes in Seattle in 2022 sold for $100,000 or more over asking, more than double what we saw during that same period the year before. Bidding wars weren't the exception, but the rule. You'd hear about buyers writing love letters to sellers, waiving inspections, skipping appraisal contingencies, doing whatever it took just to get something under contract. So what happened? Buyers actually won their home. There's a big difference, right? Nearly 85% of buyers from that era admitted making at least one major compromise, whether that was the wrong location, skipping necessary renovations, or submitting offers on homes they hadn't fully vetted. And most paid above asking with zero room to negotiate. I want you to keep this in mind when we get into the emotional side of buying later. That's when we'll break down exactly why so many people made those tough choices. But first, let's finish here. A lot of people bought the only home they could win, and now a few years later, those compromises are showing up. That's the regret wave, and it's not random at all. And once people got inside those homes, that's when the next layer hit. And for a lot of buyers, it was the one they were least prepared for. But before we dive deeper into that, if you're watching this and thinking, I don't want to be one of those people, that's exactly who I work with. If you're looking to buy in Seattle, the East Side, King County, want to make sure you're doing this right from the start, reach out. My contact info is in the description below. All right, let's keep going. You might think that the hard part is winning a home, but for a huge share of Seattle buyers, the real shock came after the keys were in hand, and it came in the form of a bill. Bankrate's 2025 Homeowner Regrets Survey found that 42% of homeowners with regrets said maintenance and hidden costs were the primary source of dissatisfaction. Not the neighborhood, not the commute, the cost. And I'm not talking about just one leaky faucet. I mean the full weight of ownership that most buyers never really modeled before closing. Now here in Seattle, that weight is heavier than most people expect. The average homeowner in the US spends over $21,000 per year in costs beyond the mortgage. Washington State ranks 5th most expensive in the nation for those hidden costs, about $27,000 per year beyond your mortgage payment. Maintenance alone averages over $13,000 annually in our state. And then there's the age of our housing stock. Over 40% of Seattle's homes were built before 1980, and about 1 in 10 date back to before 1940. You've got aging roofs, older HVAC systems, electrical panels that weren't designed for modern appliances. These issues don't show up during the excitement of making an offer, but they show up around 6 months after you close. And when we get to the emotional buying, I'll explain why so many buyers in that fast-moving market skipped the inspection altogether, which made this problem even worse. And if you're in a condo, you've got HOA fees on top of everything else. Depending on the building, those can range anywhere from a few $100 a month to well over $1,000, and older buildings usually have the highest dues because deferred maintenance does not disappear, it just gets billed later. Most buyers budget for the mortgage, not the reality of owning the home, and that gap is where the regret lives. But the hidden cost shock is just the first layer, because stretching to win that home in the first place created a second problem, and that's a lot harder to talk about. Qualifying for a loan and actually living comfortably inside that payment are two completely different things, and a lot of Seattle buyers are finding that out the hard way. When prices were climbing fast here, stretching to your maximum approval didn't just feel reasonable, it felt like the only move. Plenty of people did exactly that. Consumer Affairs survey found that nearly 7 in 10 homeowners consider themselves house poor. So much of their monthly income goes toward housing that there's very little left for the rest of their lives. Nearly half of recent buyers feel financially over their heads after closing. More than 40% have struggled to make on-time mortgage payments or even taken on new debt just to keep up their lifestyle once they had the keys. In Seattle, it plays out with a very specific twist. The tech economy here makes it easier to qualify on paper. Lenders see the income, they run the debt to income ratios and approve a substantial loan. But qualifying for payment and actually living comfortably inside that payment are two different things. Like I said, you add property taxes, homeowners insurance, higher utilities for a larger home, and a meaningful maintenance reserve, and suddenly that comfortable salary doesn't feel so comfortable anymore. You can qualify for the home and still regret your life inside it. But not all of this regret is about money. Some buyers ran the numbers just fine and they're still regretting their purchase. And when you dig into why, the answer is almost always location. All right, you found a home you loved, more space than you've ever had, a neighborhood that felt quiet and fresh, and a price that actually worked. The commute was a question mark, but you told yourself you'd figure it out. Well, that calculation is unraveling for a lot of buyers. During the pandemic, location almost felt irrelevant. If you're working from your couch, why does it matter if the house is 45 minutes from downtown? So buyers stretched a little farther out to afford a house they actually loved, new construction, more space, a neighborhood that felt different from the city, and a lot of people made that call. What has changed is that return to office trends have accelerated. Fully remote workers have dropped significantly over the last couple of years, and Tuesday through Thursday are now peak in-office days for most companies. That 1 to 2 day a week commute that made the suburb feel manageable is now 3 or 4 days a week, and that changes everything. If you're coming in from Snohomish County or Pierce County, you're already looking at well over 30 minutes under zero traffic conditions, and in heavy traffic that can easily stretch to an hour or more each way. That is a significant chunk of your time each day. Every day you're in the office. And if your employer is on the east side, you've got the reverse version of this problem, since State Route 520 or I-90 at peak hours have their own set of challenges. Beyond the commute, there's something else that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. People who moved to the suburbs describe a kind of grief. They got the square footage, the garage, the yard. They lost the walkability, the neighborhood character, the proximity to their friends, the life they were actually living. And in 2026, the market itself has added another layer to this that nobody saw coming when they signed those contracts. Buyers who purchased at the peak in 2021 or 2022 did so with a clear set of assumptions. Prices would keep climbing, equity would build fast, and if rates stayed the way they were, they'd eventually refinance into a more comfortable payment because of the equity increase. But what happened instead was a market that plateaued, softened in some areas, and then largely went sideways. Seattle home prices peaked in 2022 and pulled back noticeably from that high, with some areas, particularly on the east side, seeing steeper corrections than others. Prices have stabilized since right now. Seattle's median is sitting somewhere in the mid-800s, but for someone who bought at the very top, the equity math is sobering. Meanwhile, inventory has surged. Active listings across King County jumped roughly 35% year over year through early 2026. Homes that would have received a dozen offers overnight in 2022 are now sitting on the market for 3 weeks or longer, and the national picture backs it up. Average time on market heading into 2026 hit the longest stretch in 6 years. So if you're a peak buyer, that combination creates a very specific kind of being stuck. You can't sell without potentially facing a net loss once the transaction costs are factored in. You can't just wait it out easily when the maintenance bills rise, rising HOA fees, and insurance spikes keep stacking up. They just bought the house at the wrong moment. And when you look at why that happened, the answer comes back to something most people are reluctant to admit about themselves. If you ask most buyers whether they made a rational or emotional decision, they'll say rational. The data says something very different, and I think this is a piece that actually ties every section of this video together. A 2026 survey found that 44% of recent buyers admitted to prioritizing their emotions over rational thinking during the buying process, and 76% acknowledged ignoring or minimizing warning signs, issues with repairs, pricing that didn't quite add up, red flags they noticed and chose to overlook. Bidding wars are psychologically brutal. When you've lost 3 or 4 offers in a row, something shifts. You stop evaluating the next house clearly and you just start wanting to win. And when you find a beautifully staged home with good light, the right smell, and the layout that just feels right, your brain does the emotional math before your rational mind even gets a chance to weigh in. Research has shown that emotions can be twice as important as knowledge when it comes to making actual buying decisions. And 44% of buyers will pay more for a property simply because they really like it, regardless of whether the numbers actually make sense. In the fast-moving Seattle market of 2021 and 2022, buyers were sometimes making offers after a single 20-minute showing. No inspection window, no time to sleep on it, no real conversation with their partner about whether the commute would work or whether the HOA reserves looked healthy. The fastest decisions tend to become the biggest regrets. And one thing that doesn't get talked about enough is that buying with a partner or family member can mean if circumstances later change. For example, a job shift, a relationship change, or an unexpected family development. The speed of that market left very little room for the honest conversations that a purchase this size actually deserves. The good news is everything we've covered, the cost shock, the financial stretch, the location compromise, the market timing, the emotional rush, all of it is avoidable. And the buyers entering the market right now have something that makes avoiding it genuinely possible. So here's what's actually changed, and this is the part that makes 2026 a genuinely different opportunity for buyers who are paying attention. Right now, buyers have something that buyers in 2021 and 2022 simply didn't have. That is time. There is more time for inspections in Seattle, whether before the offer or as a normal contingency. Homes that used to go pending in hours are now sitting for 3 weeks. You have time to walk through a home twice, drive the commute at 8 a.m. before you make an offer, get a full inspection, actually be present for it. Use that time wisely. So here's how to actually protect yourself. Buy for the next 5 to 7 years, not just your current situation. Think about where your life is going, your career trajectory, your family plans, and the commute you'll realistically be making when your company's office policy settles. Remote work isn't disappearing, but it is declining. Factor that into your location decision before you fall in love with a house. Budget for the true cost of ownership. Washington state homeowners face roughly $27,000 per year in costs beyond the mortgage, and we've covered what that looks like in Seattle specifically. Add property taxes, homeowners insurance that's projected to keep climbing, utilities, and a real maintenance reserve. Run those real numbers before you decide what you can afford. Don't stretch to your max approval. Qualifying for a certain loan amount doesn't mean that the payment is comfortable to live with. Leave room for savings, for experiences, for the unexpected. Prioritize lifestyle over features. A beautiful kitchen doesn't help if the commute breaks you. Proximity to your workplace, the neighborhoods you actually use, and your daily rhythm matter more over 5 years than extra square footage or a fancier bathroom. If you're planning to be in the office 3 days a week, actually drive that route at rush hour before you commit. Slow down your decision. Today's market gives you that luxury. Walk through a home more than once, go back at different times a day, research the neighborhood, not just the house, work with an experienced local agent. This is more crucial than most buyers realize. An agent who knows the Seattle area inside and out, who understands which neighborhoods hold value, which condo buildings carry HOA red flags, and what the commute reality looks like from specific locations. That knowledge is the difference between a confident offer and a regretful one. The buyers who walk away from 2026 without regret won't be the ones who found the perfect home, but the ones who are honest about the life they actually wanted to live before they ever made an offer. So if you're getting serious about buying in the Seattle, East Side, or King County areas, and you want to make sure you're doing this right, email me directly at hello@mwagnerteam.com. I work with buyers every day who thought they knew exactly what they wanted, and then I help them find what actually fits. So let's figure out what that looks like for you. If you're already narrowing down which part of Seattle makes sense, I've linked a video right here where I rank Seattle neighborhoods from best to worst, and you might be surprised what you hear. Watch that before you decide where to focus your search. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.